Vicky, and today I'm here to share all the books I read in the month of June. June was a interesting, busy, weird month. So it was like all the end of the school year type of stuff was going on. My daughter had like her end of dance, like recital and dress rehearsals and all that stuff. And then to top it off, remember last month when I said that my husband had COVID? Well, COVID wasn't done with us, and I got it, and so did Hunter. Somehow Leia did not get it from us, so she's the last one standing in the house who has not had it, but luckily we had pretty mild cases, and it was fine, but it was also not fun. So it was kind of a crazy month, but I did manage to read 8 things, and I'm going to talk about them now. So the first book that I completed in June was one that I read with the kids, and I don't know, just kind of on a whim, I picked this up and thought that the kids would like it, and that book is Matilda by Roald Dahl. So this is a book that I read as a kid, and I loved it. I just felt like it was so, there are parts of it that are just so like, ooh, because one of the characters says a swear word. You're dealing with a very, very mean school principal. I think everybody kind of knows what Matilda is about, but it's about a little girl named Matilda who is very smart and also has another special gift and uses that gift in dealing with, like I said, a very mean, tyrannical, awful school principal. And my kids loved this book. Every night we read a chapter, and every night they were like, oh, is it time to read Matilda? And it's also kind of special because this was the first chapter book that Hunter actually like sat and listened to. He's never really been able to do that before. And this one though, he was totally sucked into the story and he sat and listened to it and loved it. So yeah, this was a really fun book, very nostalgic for me, and it was really fun reading it with the kids. It's a great read aloud book, just because of some of the dialogue and stuff is fun. And yeah, my kids loved it, I loved it. It was a 5-star read. The next stack of books that I read in June, I'm actually not going to review here because I did a whole vlog about these books. And I read a bunch of books, well, not a bunch of books, I read 4 books that all centered around ballet because I just wanted to read books about dance and ballet. And so I did, and I vlogged it for you. So the 4 that I read Astonish Me by Maggie Shipstead. This was a like 4.5 star, I would say, read. I read The Turning Point by Vanessa L. Torres. This one was a 3-star. It was really fun. I read Misty Copeland's memoir, Life in Motion, An Unlikely Ballerina. This was a 4-star. And then I read Turning Point, How a New Generation of Dancers is Saving Ballet from Itself by Chloe Angyal. And this one, I can't remember if I gave it 3 or 4 stars, but yeah, it was good. So yeah, if you want to get my deep thoughts on that and also maybe see a few clips of young me dancing on stage, go check out that vlog. The next book that I completed in June was another reread for me, and it was for the Random Reads Book Club. We read Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King. This one I read for the first time when I was about 11 or 12. I was in 6th grade. This was my first Stephen King book, so I was very excited to revisit it and see how I felt about it as an adult. And it centers around a woman named Dolores Claiborne who worked for this sort of like uppity rich woman on this island in Maine where she lives. And this woman dies one night, and Dolores is being questioned, interviewed by the police because they think that there was some sort of foul play going on with this woman's death. And they also have kind of some preconceived, feelings about Dolores because years prior, like 20 years before the events of this book, Dolores's husband died under mysterious circumstances. And so what's so great about this book is the entire book is Dolores telling the cops, like, basically her life story, because she's like, in order to tell you what happened with Vera, that's the woman that she worked for, I have to tell you about stuff that happened in the past. And so she's telling you about her life, and it's almost the way that it's written, the way that Stephen King wrote this, it's like you are sitting in that room with them and are sitting there listening to Dolores speak. And it helped that I also listened to this on audio, so it also felt that way, that you were just like in that room listening to her talk. Because she even like will stop in the middle of saying something and, you know, of telling a story and say, oh, can I get a glass of water, and things like that. And I just thought it was fabulously written. I absolutely love Dolores as a character. She just, to me, I don't know, there's just something about her. She's just so like honest and open, and at times she's bitchy, but like I just loved her. And I also loved her boss. Vera Donovan is one of those characters that I remembered her very clearly, even though I read this book 25 years ago. I still, like, she stuck out to me and I remembered her. And when I read this again, it was just as great. And yeah, it's a great story. It deals with some tough topics that I don't want to say anything about because I don't want to spoil things, but you really just get a sense of why Dolores is the way that she is when you learn about what she's been through. And yeah, this book was great. I loved this book. Highly, highly recommended, especially on audio. So yeah, this was 5 stars. The next book that I read in June was another one that I listened to on audio, and that is All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. And this is one of those books that I went into it not sure where I was gonna fall, because it is a very polarizing story, because it deals with a young girl named Wavy, who, when she's about 8 years old, she meets this man named Kellen, who is, let's just call him a family friend, I guess. And Wavy's life is not great. Her parents are involved in drugs, selling drugs and doing drugs, and they're very neglectful to Wavy. And Kellen sort of takes on this parental sort of role with her. He takes care of her. He makes sure that she's safe, because he is, if I remember right, he's like 16, 17, 18 or so years older than her. There's an age gap. And as she ages, their relationship becomes something else. And it's one that is very controversial, uncomfortable. Yeah. And so you spend the entire book just be in this sort of morally gray place. And what I loved about this was the writing was really, really good. And there are definitely parts that, like I said, make you super uncomfortable. As a grown woman reading this book about this young girl and this man, it does make you uncomfortable. But what I loved about it was that Bryn Greenwood is telling you this story, but she's just telling you the story. She's showing you what's going on, and she's not telling you how to feel about it. You come to your own conclusions about it. And that's what I really loved about it, was that it was just very thought-provoking, and it just puts you in this weird place. And I don't think a book has ever really done that before, because I don't want to say that reading this book I was like shipping the relationship that was going on, because I definitely wasn't. It was very icky to me, but there was also a part of me that could see why the relationship became what it was. It was just very weird, but I did really enjoy it. It gets dark, obviously. It deals with dark topics. And like I said, it's a book that is going to make you uncomfortable, for sure, for sure. So I don't want to say, I don't know if I want to recommend it. I feel like some people would absolutely hate this and just not be able to see past some of the subject matter. So I don't really feel comfortable recommending it, but I thought it was very well written, and it just made me think a lot. So I gave it 4 stars. It was good. If it sounds like something you might like or be interested in, check it out. Check it out. And then the last book that I read in June was a nonfiction book called Annie's Ghosts by Steve Luxenberg. And this was about Steve's mother when she was in her elderly years, kind of casually mentions that she had a sister. In all of his life, all of her adult life, she always said she was an only child. So when she mentions the sister, he's kind of confused. And then his mom passes away, and he does discover that she did in fact have a sister who was two or three years younger than her. And when this sister was about 20 years old, she was put into a psychiatric hospital called Eloise in Detroit. It was this huge hospital that had thousands of patients. And he basically goes on this mission to try to find out, because his mom is dead. This aunt, this mystery aunt, has also passed away. She's actually been gone for almost 30 years by the time he finds out that she even existed. So he's trying to find out why she was put into this institution and why his mom kept her secret. And so it's difficult because so many years have passed. A lot of the people who he could have talked to are old or dead. A lot of the records were no longer available. They had been destroyed again because they were so old and things like that. So it's just kind of about him trying to figure that out. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I thought that the stuff that he kind of talked about regarding the sort of field of psychiatry and sort of the status of hospitals like Eloise in that time period. His aunt was in the hospital, that hospital from like from about 1940 until like 1970. And so from that kind of time period, it was interesting to see like how those hospitals operated and things like that, because obviously that is definitely a thing of the past. There are no longer these humongous institutions with thousands of psychiatric patients because the field of psychiatry has changed so much. And a lot of the people that would have been put in those places can now take medication and are able to like live at home or, you know, and live their lives. And so that part of it was interesting. But then there was a lot of like extra stuff about his family that, though I understand why he put it in because it was important, but it didn't really have anything to do with Annie, his aunt, and this whole thing with her being institutionalized and being kept a secret. And so I feel like if he wanted to do a book about the other, you know, kinds of family history, that could have been a separate book. I just felt like this book should have been a little bit more focused. And so those parts, I mean, though they were interesting and like I said, obviously important, I also felt like they didn't belong in this book. So in the end, it was a little bit slow at times. And without spoiling anything, there isn't much of a mystery. So yeah, I feel like the book sort of dragged on. And maybe that's why he put some of the family stuff in to kind of fill in because there honestly wasn't much of a story there. So yeah, the writing was fine. But like I said, it sort of dragged and it sort of had too much going on. I wish it was more focused. So I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. All right, guys, so those are the books that I read in June. It was an interesting month. I had a lot of fun reading the ballet books. That was a good time. So if you want to check out that vlog, make sure you do that. And yeah, I had 2 like rereads that ended up just really kind of delivering. I loved them a lot the first time I read them and still love them now. So that was also great. And yeah, that's it. So I hope you guys had a wonderful month. Please let me know down below what your favorite book in June was. What did you read? I want to hear all about it. And that's it. I hope you guys have a great week and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.